About Marc Lamont Hill's anti-Semitic speech at the UN. Now, if you don't know who he is, I'll place a picture of him on the screen before you. You've probably seen him on television a few times. He was, keyword was, a CNN contributor. They fired him as a result of this speech at the UN because their whole policy is being anti-hate speech, all this, that, and the third. So they couldn't have that policy while keeping him on board. He's also, if I'm not mistaken, a current Temple University professor. I think he teaches psychology or something along those lines. Either way it goes, he has been fired, and we're going to get to the video of this particular speech. In this speech, you'll see a common theme that is very popular on the left. This ain't really, something that is unheard of for the left to say. After we get done with that, I'll talk about what he said, and then I'll talk about how it compares to the right. Because I always hear, the right is a bunch of neo-Nazis and racists and anti-Semites. Well, I can't really tell where the actual racists, Nazis, and anti-Semites actually are on a political spectrum if I'm watching television and reading the newspaper. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Contrary to Western mythology, black resistance to American apartheid did not come purely through Gandhian nonviolence. Rather, slave revolts and self-defense and tactics otherwise divergent from Dr. King or Mahatma Gandhi were equally important to preserving safety and attaining freedom. We must allow, if we are to operate in true solidarity with Palestinian people, we must allow the Palestinian people the same range of opportunity and political possibility. If we are standing in solidarity with Palestinian people, we must recognize the right of an occupied people to defend itself. We must prioritize peace. But we must not romanticize or fetishize it. We must advocate and promote nonviolence at every opportunity, but we cannot endorse a narrow politics of respectability that shames Palestinians for resisting, for refusing to do nothing in the face of state violence and ethnic cleansing. To commit to political action, grassroots action, local action, and international action that will give us what justice requires. And that is a free Palestine from the river to the sea.
Okay, so you see that, you see what's going on. Now, this is pretty clear. The key phrase in that you've pretty much seen all over the internets, all over television, if you've been watching it or keeping your ear to the quote unquote digital streets today, the key phrase in there is from the river to the sea. Palestine is, in people's minds, the area where Israel is. Israel is situated between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. So when you say you want to free Palestine from the river to the sea, it is a dog whistle to those who understand what you mean. You mean you want Palestine to take over their whole space and go back to the British mandate of like 1910. That's what you want. You want Israel to be wiped off the map. Now, this is not an uncommon thing. You got Farrakhan over there, Marc Lamont Hill. It's kind of funny because you had Marc Lamont Hill in the picture with Farrakhan. He had to kind of walk that back and try to explain it, talking about, well, I'm just doing, it's journalism. I'm just taking the picture. So he kind of stomped that fire out. And then here we are a few weeks later, he's giving the speech at the UN where he's saying the exact same things that Louis Farrakhan would say. And then, of course, he goes on Twitter and walks it all back, talking about, I didn't really mean that. He's retweeting stuff, talking about this is manufactured outrage. This is what he does. He'll do or say kind of extreme things and then try to walk it back. In one of the tweets, he said, I'm not trying to throw a stone to hide my hand. That's exactly what you're doing. And that was kind of a dog whistle right there, throwing stones. But I digress. The point is that what he said to many people is very offensive. You want the whole state of Israel to be wiped away and to be replaced with Palestine. It's very simple. But like I said in the beginning, this is not uncommon for the left. People like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have called for free Palestine. The woman who won in Minnesota, I think her name is Ilhan Omar. She is a Somali. I'm probably butchering her name. This was the woman that was rumored to be married to her brother. That's not really something that has been confirmed. It's a rumor. That's all I know. Either way it goes, she was saying some things about Palestine and Israel that could be offensive as well. And the list goes on. It's a constant thing for the left to say things against the state of Israel and Jews in general. But I'm to be told that it's always the right that does things like this. I'm to be told that people like Tucker Carlson are neo-Nazis, that Dave Rubin, a gay married Jew, is a neo-Nazi. Milo Yiannopoulos, a gay married Jew who's married to a black man, I'm told he is a neo-Nazi and a racist, that they're all anti-Semites. How does this make any sense? Like I said, Milo Yiannopoulos, Dave Rubin, both Jewish and totally different as far as their outlooks on the world. But to call them a Nazi doesn't make any sense. How can you call a Jewish person a Nazi, especially when they don't say anything that is anti-Jewish? The only thing Milo said that I can remember was about how Jews own a lot of different things, banking, industries, and stuff like that. He didn't say anything that was wrong, and this happens to be the case. You can say that a lot of Jews have ownership in banks, the same way you could say that a lot of white guys in America own big trucks, or a lot of black guys in America can run real fast and jump real high. I mean, these are certain things you can observe with your own eyes. It's not a matter of opinion or how you feel. You can see it. It's not racist or anti-Semitic or anything else to observe a fact that anybody can see with their own two eyes. Nobody on the right is any kind of prominent figure, a talking head, a professor, or anything has said anti-Semitic things that I've been able to see. And if they have, it's not been on the level of what Marc Lamont Hill, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Louis Farrakhan, and the list goes on, that they say all the time. So I think the point of this video was to display the hypocrisy of the left. They'll talk about how they're against hate, they're against anti-Semitism, they're against racism, they're against homophobia, transphobia, but all the time I keep seeing things from the left that are what they define as those things I just said. All the time. This is not even a one-off situation. So Marc Lamont Hill, look, man, maybe you didn't know what that meant. Maybe you heard it before and didn't quite understand. This kind of reminds me of guys that wear Che Guevara t-shirts that are black. Maybe you think that it's a cool thing to say. It's trendy, but you really don't understand what you're saying. From the river to the sea is the entire state of Israel. It goes from east to west like that. You're wiping it away and replacing it with Palestine. Although there was never really a country called Palestine, but that's a whole different story. Aside from the British mandate, but that's a whole big, long thing we can get into a debate about. It's the same way that you got these black guys like Jay-Z back in the day wearing Che Guevara t-shirts. You know, they're talking about, oh, he was a Cuban, liberator. This guy was a white Argentinian who was basically a mercenary that got put on by Castro. That's what that was. It ain't really nothing else to it. This whole romanticized vision of him that people have is just bogus at the end of the day, really. But like I said, people just don't know. They hear a thing, they see a thing, and they go with it because it's trendy and because it's popular. So that's pretty much all I got to say. What say you? Do you think that Marc Lamont Hill knew what he was saying when he said from the river to the sea? And if you think that he did, please explain to me why he would say it. He already got in hot water over the whole Farrakhan picture. Now you go to you and say the same thing that Farrakhan would say. I don't understand what your point is. Are you trying to get people to attack you? Not physically, but in the press, in the media. Are you trying to get attention? I'm not really sure what the purpose of what he did was. It could just be incompetence, not quite knowing what he was saying. If you're for a two-state solution or better treatment of Palestinians, then that's one thing. You know, two-state solution, that's like the middle of the road. People that are diehard Israel, they're going to say no two-state solution, nothing. Let's just have it the way it is, and we're going to do whatever. People on the far other side are going to say free Palestine, no Jews, return back to before 1948, that kind of stuff. The middle of the road is two-state solution. Let's have peace on both sides and let's coexist. That should be the more popular way of going. If you go to either of the extremes, you're going to get criticized. And he went to the far extreme of wiping Israel away. Whether he will admit it or not, whether he knows that he did it or not, that's what he did. But whatever your comments are, please let me know.